Because the castle doctrine isn't nationwide. That's strictly like Texas, Missouri. There's a few others that have the castle doctrine.
Castle doctrine?
Yeah, so the castle doctrine is when you're the king of your castle, is kind of like the general rule of thumb on it. So if my personal body is my necessary space, and any property I own is also part of essentially my personal body. Mm-hmm. So if I'm in my house, or if I'm on my property and you come on my property in a threatening manner, and I feel that my life is threatened by the actions you are taking, I am perfectly within my rights to shoot you. Mm-hmm. No questions asked, no murder charges, nothing. Because you were on my property and I felt threatened, I can kill you.
I wish that's how it worked, but it's technically not how it works. So the way it works is, yes, I know, right?
Okay, well, every lawyer and every cop I've ever talked to says make sure you shoot them and make sure they're inside of your house.
Yes, inside of your house. That is a huge
Also, the castle doctrine also applies to your car, which is why you don't have to have a concealed carry to keep your gun in the glove compartment.
I see.
Or anywhere else in your vehicle.
Well, isn't that sort of like pretty much a law that's been already...
Well, it's a law here in Texas, but not every state has those. Like Minnesota is a prime example. Minnesota has a duty to retreat law. So,
if you get bored, you look in your safe. I'll take
like if someone enters your place of residence without your permission, you do have full right to...
Well, now I don't know the specifics on Minneapolis. What I know is that Minnesota has a duty to retreat law. So if someone attacks you, your first thing you have to do is run away. And then if they keep chasing you and then they get you, then they get you again, then you can attack and kill them. Which personally I think that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in the world. But
as a general concept though, you should follow in general just for like your general safety. So say you're attacking me, right? I need to be taking steps back, and as long as you're coming at me, I'm much more protected by the law than if I went up to you.
Okay, but here's the problem with those kind of laws.
No. You're
talking about a general, general rule of thumb. Yes, of course. No. Okay, but that's not the way. That's not duty to retreat.
So that Texas
duty to retreat is not like that.
I hate that. I hate that rule.
I was gonna say because we're talking about two different things.
I mean, so that the court, because remember, you're still going to be judged by a jury of peers. Mm-hmm. So your appearance in that situation matters. Theoretically. So your appearance in that situation still matters a lot. So you need to make sure that you are doing everything you can to not kill them until you immediately end it.
Automatically assume you're going to be charged with murder for anyone you shoot.
You will. If you do kill anyone, you will be charged.
No, you won't. No, that happens in Texas all the time. They don't charge anybody.
No, you legal. Yeah, no, but you have to go through the process of you. They do.
The investigation has to happen.
Yeah, so they do a court process. If you did end their lives, it does go on record saying that you did end their life.
Yeah, but that's not the same as being charged.
Yes, you don't get charged.
Yeah, that's the difference. Because being charged can go on your record, even if it's dismissed.
Well, it's still on your police record.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Being charged and shooting someone is very different. And a lot of times it happens in Texas, they don't end up charging you.
No. It'll be in the police records and it'll say that it was in self-defense. Yeah. So, and that is for the case, you're doing that quite often.
I mean, it's part of the investigation. Yeah. Anybody who dies should have that kind of investigation. Should at least, I don't care what kind of monster they are. Oh, yeah. Anybody that dies should have that kind of duty done to them. It should have that kind of research and investigation. And you should know why somebody dies.
Granted, though,
honestly, you want to know what you want to know what I honestly think is the biggest reason, the biggest problem with with our current political system and how we elect people. The problem is we only elect people that want to be elected. Mm-hmm. Okay? So Washington gave us the prime example. Washington gave us the prime example of statesmen that we were supposed to be looking for.
I'm just saying. I'm either pro Jocko and fucking Rogan. Just saying. I think that would be great. Just that duo, I think, would be great.
But the problem is those kind of people don't want to do the job. We only elect people that want to do the job, and more often than not, the people that want to do that job are in it for one reason and one reason only: power and control. And that is it.
That's what really intrigues me about Dan Crenshaw, honestly, is he seems like such an upstanding human being.
Yeah.
For him to want to do that for the good of people really excites me because
So what's he doing
in my lifetime? So he's currently, I think he's a representative for.
I know he's a representative, but
he was
because we're talking about the one that lost his eye, right? Yeah. Yeah, because he was just on Dave Rubin like 3 months ago, I think.
He kind of hinted that he might someday want to run for presidency.
Oh, I think I have no doubt about that.
I would vote.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Because I haven't seen anyone in my lifetime that I really wanted to be president, and it would be very interesting to see somebody that I actually back,
right,
as a person,
right.
Because I didn't back Obama as a person because he always seemed a little.
Something about him was a little shady.
Well, he was too good of a talker. It sounds bad.
Right.
He was too good.
But he was only good on a teleprompter, though.
It didn't matter. Whenever you heard him speak, it was the type of voice that you want to follow, and that scares me.
Right. I can completely understand that. Yeah.
Because of history, that makes me weird.
Oh yeah, I can totally understand why.
I was too young to really understand what was going on during the Bush era.
Yeah.
He was kind of shady. Let's be honest.
What? You talking about W?
All of them.
Oh well, I don't know. I see, because my first president that I really remember is Clinton. I remember Clinton before I remember anybody else. I don't really remember Daddy Bush, but I remember Clinton, and but I campaigned for Bush for his reelection, and I enlisted under him.
His reelection, I was more pro him, but that was I was getting into my being who I am.
Yeah.
I was going through a lot of my stuff. This is all post 9/11, so I always was like,
oh yeah, because
I had a very different era.
How old were you when 9/11 happened?
I was not very old.
Right.
It was 2001, so I was like 3, dude.
Yeah, because I was a freshman in high school when it happened.
Yeah, I was like 3.
Yeah, and it was a very different situation for me, but it was one of those things. I was definitely very glad Bush won.
Because the
wasn't even won yet.
Yeah, because
Kerry would have been scary as shit. I actually had a shirt in high school that had him as the Scream logo, and it said "Scary Kerry" on it.
I feel like it's more like a state of mind than it is of pretty much anything. Because I do a lot of harmful stuff to my body, but yet I don't feel like I'm ever depressed or anything.
Well, I think the thing about it, there are chemical imbalances. Like certain people do have chemical imbalances. Like you can look at brain scans. They can stick people in MRIs, and you look at somebody who's like clinically not diagnosed with anything, and you look at somebody who's like clinically depressed, like an actual diagnosis, and their brain scans look very different. I mean, even a layman, somebody like us who has no medical training whatsoever, can look at them and go, holy shit, they do look different. So there are certain people out there that have legitimate chemical imbalances and do need stuff. But there's a lot of other things that they could do as well before they ended up on medication. You know what I mean? Like he was talking about, diet, exercise make a world of difference. The problem, just getting out and doing stuff in life. That's the problem with a lot of people nowadays. That's the reason why if you hear people talk to like people like Elijah Schaefer and like Wong and some of the other guys that are actually like down in those Antifa groups, and they talk to those people, and you start to learn about them, and you start to get to know them, and most of them have like crazy mental disorders. They're very confused about their life. They have a lot of issues, and because those issues aren't being taken care of, they're easy prey for people in power that want to manipulate them and get them to do things. So that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier as far as like the mental health issues. When Reagan got rid of a lot of the stuff in the 90s, that's what ended up happening. Is you ended up with all these people that weren't getting taken care of, like our Flower Bluff Knight. He's a prime example of somebody who, because we don't have mental institutions to take him anywhere anymore, you can't. Now he's just out wandering around the street, and the families don't want to take care of him. They don't want to deal with him. So you end up with him the way he is now, wandering around the streets, and people that aren't quite to his level but still need a lot of help aren't getting the kind of help that they need, and then they end up getting preyed on those kind of people. So that's why I was talking about earlier about the DSA doing that kind of stuff, because without that, that's the kind of people they're trying to go after. Those are the kind of people they're trying to recruit. So
and then I went and my shark was a little too small, so I just like squeezed it really tight.
That's a lot of that. But there's other ways to get around it. That's why like there's. That's one of the things that's why a lot of people, that's why there's so many things out there that are, that's why Jordan Peterson's doing what he's doing, is because that's why he wrote the 12 rules for life, is because he's seen that depression and that anger and all that rage from all these people, because a lot of young people don't have any direction in life. They have no idea what they want to do. They have no idea where they're going, and the system set them up that way, and there's nothing they can do about it. So the system set them up to where they're taught to learn and remember and repeat and spit it back out. They're not taught to actually find out something they want in their life. And so you end up with a bunch of people who are angry, sad, depressed, end up stuck in their mom's basement or in a shitty ass job, or obsessed with video games or obsessed with porn. That's one of the other big things, is porn addiction nowadays. And that's getting worse and worse. And then the lockdowns didn't help anything either. So I mean, it really
encouraged it.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. Well, yeah, I mean, Pornhub didn't help when they made premium free. But it's one of those things. That's what, that's the issue with a lot of this kind of stuff, is that's what, you've got a lot of untreated mental disorders out there because of a failing of the healthcare system, and those kind of people are easy prey for socialists and Marxist revolutionaries. I mean, Stalin called them useful idiots for a reason, because they're dumb enough, they're smart enough to be able to go out there and march in the street and scream and yell, and emotional enough to be able to turn them angry, but dumb enough or have enough mental issues to not reason through everything that's being told to them. And they do that intentionally. They prey on the weak like that, the weak-minded, intentionally, just so they can have bodies in the street to march and scream and yell and fight with people and burn things down and set shit on fire.
I do believe that everybody's mental state is extremely different from each other.
Right.
And I don't know, it's I keep remembering throughout my whole life of all bad stuff that would happen, all good stuff that happened, and it's almost as if I have a really good sense of will of not wanting to do anything too drastic or too bad, and I'm